Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Chasing Self Actualization. My name is Marisol Sanchez.
And I'm Janaiah von Hassel.
And here we are for another episode. Okay, I know I say this about I have to come up with a new thing, but I'm super excited about this episode. This is an episode I think I had been dreaming about for at least 15 years without even really knowing about it, like really thinking about it. But we have today Dr. Tom Dalton and his amazing wife, Kim Dalton, on the show. And they are the founders of Eden Village in Wilmington, which is a nonprofit for homelessness. And the reason it's a dream realized, and you'll see it in the interview, is they were role models to me before I ever thought about podcasting, chasing self-actualization, being Christian, anything.
Right.
They, at a time in my life where I described myself as angry, they didn't.
Yeah.
But I described myself as angry. I was unconscious. I wasn't spiritual. I was an atheist, like a devout.
It's really hard for me to even picture you like in an angry era because it doesn't...
Internally, I don't know how it came out externally, but internally, I was, my babies grew up listening to, the news on 24/7. I was consumed with politics. My identity was being angry and judging everyone else around me.
So your attention was really going to the things you were unhappy with, and it sounds like they came in and kind of gave you a different way of looking at things.
We've talked about how the people we've interviewed there's a different energy about them. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned this in the interview, which is great. I felt that 20 years ago. Yeah. They are as authentic as they were 20 years ago. And with my friend group and my book club, we're always talking about male role models, how our society's examples of male power and strength. I don't want my son to be like any of those people.
Yeah.
Dr. Tom Dalton is a male role model that I'm like, hey, if my son turned out like him, I've done a good job.
Yeah.
And same for Kim. They're just amazing people. And seeing them in their third act take Eden Village and watch it, I feel honored to know them. And I think that comes across in the interview. I
think something our listeners can hear for in this upcoming interview with them is there is so much love and lightheartedness between them. I think sometimes when we want to make a big impact and we want to, I'm chasing self-actualization, and I'm going to make a big impact in the world, and there's so much to do, so much is wrong, I have to fix it, and it feels like serious work, and it feels stressful, and yet they really present themselves like they're fun. I could tell. I feel like they're fun. And I mentioned in the interview that, I saw them prior to us meeting up without them. I didn't realize it was them. They didn't know it was me. And I just saw like a couple having fun. And my takeaway, and there's so much depth in this interview. I'm excited for our listeners to hear it. But a takeaway for me that's really sat with me is it can be fun. The other takeaway for me is like self-love. I just realized you are never going to be to someone else what you can't be for yourself. And they're adorable together. How long have they been together?
Since 5th grade.
It was crazy. I was like, they loved each other so much. Like, I've honestly even been nicer to my husband since I met them. So.
Yes, they changed lives.
So it's good for him.
Just by knowing.
It just like they take the time to nurture that relationship every day since 5th grade. Like, they weren't like, I've had this for a long time. They treasured it all the more. Mm-hmm. And it, again, was reaffirming to me that people who treasure themselves, treasure their relationships, they treasure all of life that way. They really just, what they're doing in the homeless community, because they see the humanity here and they don't see themselves as separate or better. And I'm, again, just blown away to see somebody so successful, so confident, capable, seeing that they just see everyone around them with so much love.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. For me, when I rewatched it, in the moment, it was great. It was wonderful. I rewatched it, and it's that common thread I mentioned in episode 1 where I was like, imposter syndrome again.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known them
Yeah.
for years. And I saw myself getting smaller in the video. Like I was getting like
You were
this.
trying to disappear.
Because I just didn't feel good enough to be like, they're such good people. The opposite. When you see someone shine, you're like, I can do it. And when I see someone shine, I'm like, oh man, I'm not good enough. So for me, this whole exercise in chasing self-actualization, the podcast has been this exercise in like me fighting my demons again, which I didn't think.
But it's amazing because we're among good company to process these issues, because the people we're meeting are not people that could even ever see the smallness you're feeling, which is what's so incredible
it's
about
amazing.
it, you know?
No, it's
but I think in some ways throughout your whole life, they see you through these different eyes, and they kind of welcomed you into that potential. It sounds like 20 years ago, like they could see you no other way. And I think that's such a phenomenal thing about some of these people that we see, that we think, we say they shine or they glow. They see everything with that same potential that they have, and it's almost like a welcome invitation to step into it. And they extended that to you, and even though you felt small and anxious, you said yes, and you did that, you know? And I think that's what this is all about. That's what the chasing is.
Yes, and I think, it's normal for your shadows or your demons to come up when you put yourself out of the comfort zone, and that's what we're doing here.
Right,
The name of the podcast is Chasing Self-Actualization. I feel like we're putting ourselves on blast too.
Yeah. I had one of our guests was like, what's your background? I'm like, I'm a recruiter. Thanks.
So I think that's where, my shadows are coming up. But you know what? I welcome them because I've battled them before. I'll win this one too. So.
We'll shine a light on them, and I think that's what this is all about, shining a light in dark places. It's actually a great idea to keep in our heads that, I always think about this when I just think about myself, like mold grows in dark places. So if we have something we're insecure about and we hide it, it grows. Mm-hmm. And so if we shine a light on it, we are able to process it and release it. And that's really what both of our intentions, I get so much from these. Like, this is my therapy. It's not like you've said so many times that you're not coming here saying you've got it figured out. Oh. I mean, I'm getting so much from this, and my biggest ambition is to share it with other people, because these people have something incredible to share.
Yes, yes. And I think that's the perfect segue into the interview with Dr. Tom and Kim Dalton. I am excited to have Kim Dalton, Dr. Tom Dalton, on today's episode of Chasing Self-Actualization. Now, that's a funny title. And when we sat down to list out who we could potentially have as a guest, you two were the first names I put on. Wasn't even a thought. Knew you would do it. Knew this was going to happen. I was like, I'm manifesting this. Because I'm going to cry. I'm going to get a little emotional. I know we've known each other, we're going to say 20 years. And we're not day-to-day friends, even week-to-week friends. But guess, you can affect someone's life by sheer energy, by sheer presence, by sheerly seeing someone for who they are and their value. And when I met them, and this is what I love about getting older. What I love about getting older is looking back at the data, looking back at the experiences. I was a hardcore atheist, as I told you about my past. So much so when my Catholic family would be like, did you baptize your kids? I'm like, no. So lo and behold, 10 years after we've met, I go through this spiritual awakening. I'm taking a course on trying to find happiness, trying to get out of my divorce. And a Harvard professor says spirituality is one of the cornerstones of living your best life. I was like, all right. But what I hung on to is when I met them, this is, let's say 10 years of the hardcore atheism. I had said to my children, I had said to my ex-husband at the time, that you two were the best representation of Christians that I had met, that you lived it. It wasn't, you never judged me. It didn't matter what problems I was having, what was going on in my life. You were pure love, Kim Dalton. And I know that I'm not the only person in the world to say that. Am I wrong?
I second that.
No. Oh, no. You have so much good in your heart.
Oh.
You have so much good in your heart.
Well, I love you. And I think of you too when I think of self-actualized people. My definition is people living their best life. And I think one of the ingredients to self-actualization, that's why I put chasing in there, because it has to be a verb. You have to constantly be doing it.
Absolutely.
Is you wanted that when you kind of get to this point where you realize, oh my God, I'm so blessed and I have all this, God is so good, that you want to help other people. You want other people to attain that. And that's kind of what I saw in your third act. I can go on and on. I will, probably. But that's why you two were immediately on the list. As parents, I thought, if I could do half as good a job as you two did with your children,
You did amazing with your kids.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'll receive it. But you, even though we're not day-to-day friends, we'll say Facebook friends, to like, your mere presence changes people's lives. So I thank you for that, because when I didn't even pray for myself or my children, I know you two were praying for me. And I know that now, and that gives me chills. So thank you for that. Okay.
That's beautiful.
We're done. Cut. No. Okay. So take us to you. You're a doctor. You're a nurse. I met you as your last child was starting the school system. All our children graduate, go off to college, and you decide, tell us Eden Village. How does this come to be?
Well, a lot of different steps along the way, but we've done a lot of mission work in Africa. And we've taken our children. We wanted them to see that side. And the last time we went, I begged Tom, don't go to the hospital. Come and just go out in the villages with us. And he said, okay, because the hospitals, he knows that routine. And that was, and so we were doing some hard stuff there, and it really broke his heart. And I will never forget that night we came back, and he just truly fell to his knees, and he's like, how are we ever going to change this? And he was, I'm sharing more about but he was up all night, just tearful, and couldn't quite, see how this was going to all pan out. And so our friend who we work with in Africa, Bob Mendoza, who they have a wonderful place called Naomi's Village, and that's where we were working. And so he wrapped his arm around Tom, and he said, once you've, seen this, you can't unsee it. And so either come join us in Africa or go back and do something every day in your city. And so we came back, and we really kind of didn't know what exactly would unfold, but we knew there was something that we were being called for.
And I'm guessing you're praying at this point?
Praying and just trying to figure out exactly what it is, And as you said, our 3 kids were going off to school. I worked myself out of the best job that I could ever have. My father had been living with us, and my mom, and my dad passed away. And so, what you thought that you were going to be doing, it kind of looked a lot different. So I'm going to let Tom kind of share a little bit about how he started looking in the hospital and kind of came up with the Eden Village.
I do remember Africa.
Yeah.
You told me about it at a soccer game when you came back, and I remember you seemed changed.
When we went to Africa, you get to see poverty, like real poverty, like people dying where there are no resources. And you come back here, and it's a hard thing because it's a whole different level here. There's certainly some sadness going on. But we knew we wanted just to pick up and go. And that's what's so great about Kim. In every step of our life, she has just said yes, right? So I go through medical school. She pays the way through working. She goes wherever I want to go. to do whatever I want to do. And so you have to have I've just had this incredible partner in that. We went on our first date in 5th grade, right? We grew up in Springfield, Missouri, and our families, still know each other. And that was a beautiful thing. So I think a lot of it for me was just asking questions, and then Kim just kind of affirmed that with a, yes, let's do that. And, we came back from that time where we had just been broken and decided we wanted to do something every day. That was really Bob's challenge to me. It's like, get out of your foxhole, get onto the playing field. You are not called to solve all these problems. That is not what your calling is. That's been done, we believe, through Jesus Christ. But it is a deal where now you got to get up and go. So we decided to get up and go. And we was in the hospital. We got plugged in with some homeless folks, great doctor there that, having lunch, he says, you want to come and work at this mission thing. And then that day, we're amputating some guy's leg named Terry. It's his second leg. And he lives in a car. And our plan as doctors and medical folk was to send him back out to his car. And I thought, wow, that's a terrible plan. And so we kind of went on this whole homeless journey.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what's the mission of Eden Village?
Yeah, so it's, as we got plugged in, we learned about kind of tiny homes and homelessness and how people living with serious mental illness do well when they have their own place. They actually don't want to be in apartments as much as being in their own space. And so I became convinced of that. And so the mission is to build communities and relationships for our homeless friends. Turns out you can't just take someone off the street and put them in a house by themselves. After you've been chronically homeless, people that have been on the streets for over a year, typically with some type of disability. And there is a lot of mental illness and a lot of substance abuse and all those things. And then there's just people that are just out there, that have just been out there for a long time. So it turns out that those folks do better when you put them in community. And so we went on this search for the right way to do tiny homes. It led us through this incredible journey of, we got some land downtown Wilmington. We were going to build a tiny home, and I didn't know how to build one. So I called the guys who had built the most, a place called Community First Village in Austin, Texas. They have 51 acres of tiny homes.
Wow.
All shapes and sizes. And we call them up, and I say, hey, listen, we want to build a tiny home. He goes, you know what you're looking for? You're looking for something more like Eden Village in Springfield, Missouri. Our hometown.
Oh, wow.
That's
Right?
synchronicity.
Synchronicities.
Yeah. God hits you enough over the head.
God,
Bang. Okay. So we call him up at Eden Village. The founder there, orthopedic surgeon. And he says, hey, my brother lives in Wilmington. He's a retired CPA. He'll help you with the paperwork. He does the finances. It gave us, doctors and nurses, we need financial people around us. So that he set us on the right path. His name was Tom Brown. He died a couple of years ago from a COVID-related illness, but he gave us the confidence really to step out and go. But the best part of the whole story, really, when we became convinced, was when we went back to visit the headquarters of Eden Village in Springfield, Missouri. We wanted to see this place up close. And my parents still live there. As we pulled in, Kim reached out and grabbed my arm. And she said, oh, my goodness, this is the land that my grandparents lived on.
oh my goodness.
And my grandfather, her grandfather, who I knew growing up, was one of the most spiritual men ever. She can tell more about him. But he prayed over that land for the impoverished every day. And so we're sitting
Big
there.
honking Bible. I remember him sitting out there in a lawn chair. It was just, it just was
So
amazing.
we just grabbed each other and we said, this is what we're going to do.
Sweet tears, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we've been in Wilmington now 28 years. I'm kind of backing down on my career. The kids are gone, and we're going to do Eden Village. That's what we're going to do.
And from the outside looking in, just social media, just volunteering one time at Eden Village, it just appears to be magical. in how it's transpired, how quickly. I have worked for nonprofits for years, and most nonprofits start with good intention. Everyone has a good intention. But to take the action to create the nonprofit and then to make it work and profitable for the nonprofit is hard work. But from the outside looking in, it just seemed blessed to me. Just seemed like...
And the people that have jumped on to help, everybody has a talent. Everybody has something to share. And so we just let them come and share whatever they can do, whether it's chair yoga. We have one gentleman, George, who is incredible. He's the biggest volunteer of the hospital. He's now come on board, and he does all of our tours. He does a lot of our extra talks and stuff.
Wow.
Our social workers, they're all volunteer. Our main one, Donna Evans, she gave up her practice to go there every day. So it is magical. People feel involved. They want to help. They want to be a part of it. And so it has been amazing. The home teams that come around our residents, it has been
one of the things
fun to watch.
We talk about here with Chasing Self Actualization is about being in alignment with your life's purpose. And what does that look like? And what do people who are in alignment with their purpose look like? And we've talked before about how, you can spot it. When somebody's in alignment, they're following God's call for their life, they're following their purpose. And hilariously, 15 minutes before this, I was at Starbucks. I've never met you before, Kim. And when you walked in, I was like, whoa. I felt like I knew you. I've never met you. And I can see that alignment. And I don't see it in everybody. Not everyone has this. And we talked a little bit already about synchronicities and things coming into flow. It's things start to happen that are beyond what we could think of. And you go so for our listeners and for myself, are there any daily practices or things that you do that you feel help you stay in that flow?
I have been in a small group Bible study for 24 years, and I will say they are like my rock, definitely. Some people text at 5 a.m. in the morning, and then some of us are like the 1 a.m.s, and we have a prayer chain like nothing. And we share the joys and the praises of all that, and that has really kept me grounded. We have been, through good times and bad times together, and so that weekly to get together with those women and to pray and to share what we want, what our prayer needs are, that is huge. And then, of course, quiet time in the morning and just going in prayer and just, okay, God, what is it that you want me to see today? Because I believe there is always something that's placed in your path. And so many times I know I run right past it, and then at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I totally missed that. I should have, whoever that person was, or reach out or whatever that is. And so I do believe that there is something every day that we're supposed to be out there, sharing, doing something for somebody or whatever, or just having a conversation with somebody. And so many times I know I get in a big hurry and I miss those opportunities. And so I think that's one thing.
And not as far as practices. I don't know about our practices, but I would also say it's open-heartedness. They say don't judge. You shouldn't judge. Judgment is bad. Very few of us have the talent of navigating life and not judging. I would say more Kim.
No, we all.
That's because we have failed at so many things.
We have so many. Yeah, there are so many things that we have done so wrong and whatever. And we're all one little,
life
step along
has
the
been,
path. We step off all the time.
It is so humbling, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say one other neat thing that we do together, and we have done this our entire lives, is couch time. And we learned about this from some friends, and they said, you got to connect and talk every day. And so whoever the last one is to come home, whenever they walk in the house, we immediately drop everything, and we sit down for 15 minutes. And we sit on the couch, and we look each other in the eye, and we talk and listen to what's gone on in the day. And that, even when you don't want to do it, has been a marvelous thing for our personal growth together. And our little kids loved it because they would know they're doing the couch time. They could not come in the room.
Can't
And
bother
if
them.
If the house is on
into the
fire,
kitchen couch
they were
time.
going to come in and put their hand on our knee. The house is on fire, But
Better be big.
And so our kids learned about that, and they do that now with their spouses. It's pretty cool. I think it's maybe a little weird, but we all now have married our senior prom date. So 2 kids have done that, and our last one is dating his senior prom date. That probably scares her to death.
Oh my gosh.
But it's, so that's just kind of, that part is built in for us of a, prayer together, actually looking in each other's eyes. It's very hard to be mad at each other when you have that time every day to do that. And there's a lot of times when she's mad at me. There's a lot of times I'm mad at her. But man, you can't do that after 15 minutes of looking at each other on the couch. And so we do that.
Really
This is our couch time today.
This is our
by the way.
couch time.
Yeah, we're
But
right
then-
now.
But then sometimes he'd come home and he'd had a long, long day and his eyes would kind of like close. I'm like, okay, 15-minute penalty. We got to start over. We got to
Yeah.
talk some more.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to give Tom some attention. I gave
Can you give me this?
so I journal. That's part of my thing. And I went back and looked, and I knew there was a period of time that I'd written about Tom, but I wanted to make sure, because it was, who knows what I was writing. Went back, found it. I've been divorced. Over 10 years of being single. And I'd go to therapy and be like, I wanted to be with someone. I want a partner. What are you looking for? And I'd go through what I was looking for. We, dive a little bit deeper. And I couldn't articulate it. He's like, well, can you name someone? Can you name lists? You have to visualize what you want to attain it. So my homework for that week was to go and write about people's marriages that I thought I would want to emulate. Tom was the only man.
Aw. He's a good boy. That's very
On
sweet.
the list.
Yep.
Well, there was another one, but on his list, he was spiritual. He was always comfortable in his spirituality, which is something I had not seen in my personal life or in the dating pool of Wilmington, North Carolina.
Right.
Right.
And I have that now. I have someone to pray with, and he's very soft, but he is. If I look back, I'm like, and I wrote the characteristics that I saw in Tom about how he adored you. And I'm like, that's what I want. And that's what I have. And you two don't even know that you've never met him.
I can't wait to meet him.
How someone can influence someone's life just by their, sheer presence, both of
I
you.
actually noted, it's so cool that I saw you without knowing it was you. Because my brain just said, oh, they probably, you were so chatty. And so I was just assuming they probably just got together. That was how my brain wanted to. And then you're we've been together since 5th grade. And I'm like, what?
Oh my
Still
gosh,
have a
what
lot
are
to
you
tell each
talking
other.
about?
But when we were
They
setting
came
up,
in best friends.
when they were setting up, I said, "Oh, they're married. You can put them closer." And he's like, "Well, you never know. You don't know what mood." And I'm like, "Wait till you see them." So this is how, and this is 20 years that I can say I witnessed. Before authenticity was a buzzword, before this couple showed up as what I would describe as people chasing the best versions of themselves, which was an example to me. So I thank you for that.
I think you continually chase things for yourself.
I know what I'm
You are so good to always be looking ahead, and you've done so much with your kids.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I would like to ask, I have a couple thoughts here coming in, but just talking about your relationship, and it sounds like you've made that something really important. Your spirituality is something that's the first part of your day. You give attention to that, to your walk with God, and then to each other. And when we talk about homelessness and tiny homes, and we think about what is a home and what is safety, these connections we have with each other that kind of we take for granted when you have known somebody. And I actually just lost somebody who struggled with connection. We take advantage, we sometimes miss how important that is to our safety and to every part of stepping into our alignment. And so what are the things that you feel that this Eden Village has allowed people outside of just shelter from the rain, that it's doing in our community? And maybe even if a specific person comes to mind to kind of showcase for us how this is changing lives.
Listen, we say it all the time with our partners and other Eden villages. There are 12 Eden villages now across the nation that we're involved with. But dignity is the solution to poverty. So you take those folks who are going through those times, and one of the very first things when you go to interact with them is to touch them, shake their hand, look them in the eye, and ask them what their name is. So many people walk by. So it's that dignity side of things, and it takes the trust factor in this group is really low. And so it's going to take 5 to 10 interactions where you just say, hey, I'm Tom, and reintroduce yourself again to them. But then watching them come together as a community, because community is a solution to homelessness. Mm-hmm. And so it is that relationship that we have seen going on at Eden Village. I mean, they are our friends. I mean, they are genuinely our friends. And they are each other's support and friend group. So I think watching them come together, and we have had the great honor of watching them come into their homes. Like the average age at Eden Village is 57, and they've been on the streets of Wilmington over 7 years, some of them decades. And we can get them better medical care, get them teeth, get them, fixed up. I mean, they come out and you say something like, hey man, your hair looks great, or great smile. Oh my gosh, there is nothing better. And so watching that interaction, the stories are just all over the place.
Yeah.
You've had the honor of standing there watching people who have been through incredible trauma walk into a home. And these are nice homes. They're 405 square feet. They all have a kitchen and a bedroom and a bathroom. If you haven't been out there, you should go. We do tours on Mondays at 2 o'clock. And you can get into one of the houses and see what it's like.
Yeah.
So it is really, that stuff, watching them go into, that's the moment. I mean, that is the moment when they look around and they open their dishes, and Kim has got all the soft goods and dishes and things in there, and they can't believe that that's their plate. And most of them will sleep on the couch or the floor for the first few days, or then work their way into, I got in the bed for the first time, and they have a place to shower, and they're not fighting for a bathroom.
Yeah.
When they first wake up in the morning.
The dignity that occurs out there, oh my gosh, it really is. It is a beautiful thing. Anybody that wants to get involved can just knock on the door and come out. We love it.
And another neat part, like I shared just a little bit, we have home teams. So each resident has 6 to 8 people from the community that they've never met. They've just come out, wanted to be a volunteer. They do a short training, and that is a really fun relationship just to continue to watch. One gentleman had a surgery. One of his home team members took him to a surgery, stayed with him, brought him back, brought him food back afterwards. I mean, just really intimate things, which has been really fun to watch. And some come by and take them to church on Sundays and stuff. So that has been a really neat, another group of friends that have come around them, not only the community itself, but then outside.
It makes me, the two feelings I have is overwhelming, love. It's love. It's this simple answers, love, dignity, just what you're providing and giving. And then the second is I'm not doing enough. Listening to you guys, I'm like, oh.
Well, I think even hearing this, I'm thinking everyone deserves a home. It's just what my brain keeps saying. Everyone deserves a home. And I think there are people who would argue that, maybe not in words, but maybe in spirit and how they behave and how they act or what they think. Well, if somebody did something different. And some of us, I would say, have been blessed enough to know what creates these issues. And can see it differently. But I think I just keep hearing in my head over and over, everyone deserves a home, and how beautiful that you've taken steps to do, because I've actually been thinking more and more, and it's cliched to say, but if one person, right? And how this example, this relationship affected you, which affects, and what the ripple effect of that one person who now has a home, and how that can impact our community and the world. But one thing that's kind of catching me, you had said earlier, Kim, was, sometimes you trip over it and it hits you on the head what's next for you and what steps you're supposed to be taking or what's in alignment for you. So my question is just around the discernment you've had as you've done things. You took your family and your children to Africa. Some people might say, is this best for my children? Am I doing what I should for my family? You've decided to take this, do Eden Village. How do you know the difference between like your imagination, an idea, something that is in alignment as opposed to things that are just busy brain?
Or I'd like to say, since you've been talking to God longer than I have, how do you know when they're talking to you and when it's something else?
When it's something else you're hearing.
I just do what Kim says.
No. I just say, what do you want to try? We'll do that. No, I think, I do think that you just step forward, as simple as that is. And we've been on maybe a different track, and God gently pushes you back, whether he slams the door very loudly or slowly kind of pushes it quietly and pushes you back on that path. And so, I mean, it has been a joy to watch this village come together and the community, Wilmington, everybody to come along and build this.
How long? How many years? It's been?
It was founded in, we started in 2020, put our first house in 2021,
COVID.
fundraised out of it, and then opened in 2023 of June of
amazing.
2023.
And how many houses?
31.
31.
Yeah.
That's
It's a 4.3 acre property, has a 4,000 square foot community center with full services in there. So it's really a remarkable place for sure. But I think in regard to your question, that I would just go back to the failure thing, right? We've tried a lot of things and failed. We've made mistakes. We've gone down the wrong road. And it's pretty clear when you're on that road and you just go, you know something? This isn't working out. And don't be afraid to try that. And you do, as Bob said, it's time to get out of the foxhole, right? It is time to feel a little uncomfortable. And when you first go up and you talk to your first homeless person or person on the street like that, and you're kind of thinking, oh, what should I say? Those are hard things, and you feel uncomfortable. And this whole journey has taken us through some times where we are way out of our comfort zone. We say the wrong things.
Yeah.
And so you just ask for forgiveness. Pack it up. You say, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Man, we're excellent losers.
I feel like that's such an awesome reflection. I appreciate that. I think that's, not being afraid of making mistakes, recognizing that we're all trial and error, and that when we are in alignment, so to speak, or when we kind of look up to other people, we think that they just know what to do all the time, and they don't. They're just better at making mistakes. They just kind of bounce back faster. I know when I had my business was successful, and one of my sisters was like, you always strike gold. And I was like, I have like a cemetery of business cards for my businesses that didn't succeed. Like I have started 12 businesses and one made it. But I think that's what it is, that you're just like, all right, we got to figure this out. We've got to readjust. We've got to move forward, and just accepting discomfort and mistakes is part of the journey. Yeah.
So we've talked about your wonderful marriage, which and I want to take it. I had the pleasure of knowing your parents and watching them over the years on the soccer fields with you. And when I clocked you as an excellent mother early on. I've already said that. You were a verb in my house. When I burnt cookies, I'm like, I'm not Kim Dalton. Like, that's what I would tell my kids, the twins. I'm not Kim Dalton. Every time I screwed up, I'm not Kim Dalton. I understand the importance of generation, what we learn and what we teach. And I could see you were loved. You were loved, and probably still are, by your mom. But and I could see how you were raising your children, and it was so inspiring. And so I'd love to know, because this whole project, Chasing Self Actualization, my idea is, what if more people were chasing it? What if more people were the Kims and Toms of the world out there? And you don't have to be Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. Most people are kind and nice, and most people want to do good. We just want to help people get there. So from a parental perspective or a generational perspective, how do you teach servitude as a core I don't know. It's in your, I know it's in your DNA. I know it's how you were, I remember your parents like kissing the whole family to say, go to the bathroom. Bye.
They are the biggest huggers. No, I mean, you're right. You're sitting at dinner and you get up to go to the bathroom and everyone has to hug you goodbye. And you're going, I'll be right back. And then they hug you when you come back. Oh my gosh. That's what Kim's family was like. Her dad scared me to death. Tough, tattooed guy. And he cried at a drop of a hat. And he loved her. Yeah. And I learned so much from he adored an only child. I'm one of three. I'm a middle negotiator child. She had this incredible thing. And my family is all built of challenge, you know. My dad had a sticker on his trunk that went to Boy Scout camp with me when I was a kid, and it said, I'm third. And that was the lesson that he taught me. You know, God is first, others are second, and when you go through trying to figure out what's right, you're third. And I think he taught me that. And that combination of getting to watch her dad love her so well and me kind of come in, I can't imagine what it was like when we stood up there together and he handed her hand to me. That was an amazing moment for me because I thought, he adored her.
I just remember looking and thinking, that's what it must be like to have parents raise you right. Like, what, like, and I'm not trying to shame any parents because I truly believe all parents are doing the best they can with the tools that they have available to them. So I'm not judging anyone, but I had to parent through healing. Like, I had to heal and parent at the same time. I feel like, sort of like Athena. No, I'm not trying to.
He was a great encourager. I think that he would, help me do the right thing or whatever, but always encouraged me. Never shamed me. Never, it was always, buddy, okay, you can do this. And I think that really made a huge difference. And then watching him with our kids, it's fun to be grandparents now. And we think back, I'm like, oh my gosh. We left all three kids with them, and they could, they'd be on the floor, they'd build forts and all of that kind of stuff. I'm like, I got to get in shape because I'm not going to be able to do all that. But I think just to look at each individual and know that they are specially made and you love them for who they are. And I felt like that's what my dad taught. We're all different. We all have different, things that we're good at. And so Dom's always said, do what you love, and that can, and be passionate about it and make that your career. So I think those are the kind of things that we kind of threw out there. And we have all three very different kids who, have different things that they enjoy, and we've made many mistakes along the way.
And I'm not trying to say you're perfect.
I think encouragement.
Yeah,
well. I felt encouraged and very loved.
Yeah. So during birthdays at our house, and her dad was like the best at this game. Whoever the person is, everybody goes around at dinner and says what they love about the birthday person. And her dad would give the best answers, and I always hated going behind him. I'm like, I got to position myself here at the dinner table so that I go before Dwayne. But he was so genuinely complimentary, and we did that as an exercise. Our kids now do that. And that is another neat kind of family practice of, hey, let's sit around here. It's your birthday. Here's what I love about you. Yeah. And he did that really, really well.
Because you know what you don't like about yourself. So it's always nice to hear someone telling you that. So that was a sweet thing.
I didn't mean to embarrass you all, but I do think so highly of you. And when we put this together, I was just like, I have to have them on. And I thought about it, and I was like, the biggest thing I wanted people to understand is chasing your self-actualization, being the best version of yourself, being a servant leader. Everyone is capable of that. But every day if you show up, you connect, you try. Just try. And you will fail I fail every single day. But if there were more of you and more reviews in the world, this world would be a completely different place. I truly believe it. So.
Hey, we feel like those people are all over the place. One thing about Eden Village and kind of managing that side is somebody comes up with an idea and we're like, yeah, do it. Right? And they look and they go like, you really? And you're like, yeah. How much, get a budget together and let's do it. And you just watch people do things like that. Yeah. And it is amazing how people rise. So I think maybe they just need a chance. Yeah. And a little somebody to kind of nudge them and have a Dwayne moment where they say, you can do that.
Yeah, and it can.
And we do a lot of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we do a lot of that. And we get to watch people really become them that live their best selves. I love that concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the concept of this podcast is you turn on the news or society just can depress you. It can just depress you. And then I feel like in college, we learned about Maslow's theory. Here it is.
Yep.
But no one said, okay, here it is. Good luck getting out of that bottom one. Pull yourself up from those bootstraps and you'll see you in 4 years. And I just want to change the conversation because I want more people to live their best life. You just want it for everyone.
And I think chasing is the exact thing. It's going to look different every
like
few years, I mean, I think we've got to be open to change and what that looks like. Remind me when I say that and you're like going off on it. I'm like always like, oh gosh.
She's always,
no more
what's
ideas.
next? I'm like, we got a lot of things to do.
Let's just simmer in this one right now for a minute. We don't need to go on just yet. Whoosh, I feel my hair blowing already. We're going. But I do think, like you said, chasing. We're always looking to improve because
I think too with it, it's about seeing a version of yourself. If you're stuck in something or you're doing something, I had problems with drinking and I had to go to recovery here in Wilmington, Helping Hands, 5 years ago now. And I had to see a different version of myself before I could become it. And I was able to hold that vision of myself and hold myself to that. But some people can't. And when somebody walks into their life who can see it and invite them to it, it allows them to step into a new vision of themselves. And sometimes we have to hold that for another person. And I think the way you've even talked about the people you've helped, some people just see them as they show up and you see them as they can be. And that it's an invitation to them to step into something, step into more security, step into a higher version of themselves. We offer that to people when we see them that way.
It's so true. We do a lot of kind of our personal goals, 1 year, 5 year. We write them down. We always have. And when you come to a big decision, and our kids love this, like, oh, get out the whiteboard, because we get a big white piece of paper out, and they're not really that many decisions that you're thinking there's a lot of things that I could do. There's not really that many choices. And so you write them out, and you write a pro-con list of everything, and then it becomes very clear where you should go and what you should do. And so we do that for people all the time. I'm like, hey, let's do the whiteboard thing. You're thinking about what do you want to do? Let's write it down. Because when you write it down, it becomes real. Mm-hmm. And especially like the homeless population, when they first come off the street, they have a 24-hour life cycle. That's it. They are trying to figure out the next 24 hours. Now they come into Eden Village, and they're like, wow, I don't have to spend all day long trying to find food or trying to protect myself. I can plan for tomorrow. And then they might plan a doctor's appointment in a week and then maybe a month. And you watch this progression. Oh my gosh, that is so much fun. So much fun.
And that's how you hashtag it, God's work, right?
God's project.
God's project.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And everything we've done has come out of the Missouri group, right? We're not making this up. We're just Kim and Tom.
Yeah,
right?
We're just following.
And we are smart enough to go find somebody else who is doing it and imitate them. It's a great way to go through life. Find out somebody who's getting the results you want and just ask them how they did it.
And I love the idea that, because so many people are looking, what's my passion? Or I want to do something, but they don't know what it is. And sometimes it's just taking action, and it will, like you said, life will close the doors and open the doors and lead you where you need to be. So,
Because interesting enough, Eden Village was never like on our pro-con list. That was never ever like, are we doing this? What's the pros? What's the cons? It just happened. And so that has been the true
It's been
miracle.
beautiful to watch.
It's been a true miracle. It has been so humbling just to see God bring all the people along and make it happen.
Yeah, and we're not stopping, right? I mean, after we sat in that parking lot together, we decided this is it, right? Somebody introduced me the other day as Tom from Eden Village. Think about that for a moment. As a doctor, doctors have a really hard time as we age out and don't become doctors anymore. We have to give that up, except you still call us doctors when we're like 90, right? Now I am Tom from Eden Village, and I love it.
oh, I love
So that transition out of kind of the whole, hey, hand me this, do this, and run around and whatever we do in the hospital is transitioning out. I think it's made me a better person, better doctor. I think probably a better husband, better father. That transition is occurring for me. I think Kim is Kim from Eden Village, right? And that's a great new identity for us, right? So there's more to be done.
Oh,
right?
sure. I can't wait for Act 4 and 5 and 6.
Where can people learn more about Eden Village and find ways that they can support this if it's something they feel passionate about?
Yeah, well, thank you. It is, you go to edenvillagewilmington.org or come out for a tour on Mondays at 2 o'clock, 2974 McLammy Street. It's one of those things you need to walk in the house to really understand the concept of a tiny home and what dignified living is. A lot of people will walk into that house and they'll go, "Ooh, I could live here. I'd have to get rid of some stuff, but I could live here." This is a very dignified way. Some people will say to us, actually, "Hey, this is a little too nice. Maybe it's too much." And we learned early on that the level of your giving should match the level of your living. And if you think about that,
Oh, I love
it's a great one, isn't it? So I learned this in Africa. We're going to buy some shoes for the kids at Naomi's village. And so we're going to go, they're playing out there barefoot, playing soccer. And we're like, we got to get these kids shoes. So I got some discount shoes on, because I'm a cheap guy. And I got these discounted shoes. And Bob says to me, he goes, "What kind of shoes do your kids wear?" And I thought, oh my gosh, my kids wear Nike Air. I can't buy. He goes, "Guess what, Tom? The level of your giving matches the level of your living." So we want to make that exactly as it would be for me to go in there and live. And I think that's the feeling you'll get. But you can't get that unless you walk on the property. You got to go in there and see it.
I've seen
to actually see that.
I can attest. It's a tiny home. They have all the amenities, a bed, the bathroom. Before people moved in, I was able to go, and it was lovely.
Set up and clean up.
Our number one decorator, Kim.
Oh,
really awesome.
We've had so many people so kindly give stuff, and we have a beautiful garden that.
And
James.
it's all full. They're all full. And
It's a forever deal too. There's a memorial garden, which is a nice touch that they do at Eden Villages. So there's a columbarium where when you die, and the average life expectancy of somebody who's been on the street is age 50. So when they die, and we had a guy die in the house a few months ago, his ashes are interred in a handmade urn from the Wood Turners of America, and it gets put in the columbarium, and their name is etched in that. And they have a forever home. They are forever loved. And that is a incredibly holy space for the folks who think about, they're worried that they're going to die on the streets and no one will know who they are. So now they are forever. Like, it's a forever deal.
Gosh, I'm worried about that too. It's at 50 still. Like,
Right?
yeah.
So that's a cool touch. But that's really what you do to get involved, edenvillagewilmington.org. Watch some videos. If your heart is tugged and you feel like you want to get out there, we'll come sit down and talk with you. We go to church groups and civic groups, but there's only so many people we can tell the story for. The thing I love is hearing other people tell the story of Eden Village. I will just listen in, like I'll be at the coffee shop and somebody's telling about Eden Village, and I'm like, oh, that is awesome.
That's an awesome day.
So telling somebody, that's a huge part of it,
Sharing the
right?
story.
Share the story.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming. I knew you were, as soon as I had the title,
Share.
I had a whiteboard, put your names on the whiteboard.
You're on the whiteboard.
It's an honor.
Thank you. It was. Thank
It's
you
an
very
honor.
much. And it has been fun to see.
My
the
chasing.
big smile on your face.
Your personal growth.
Oh,
Right.
looking at
For
people in the
sure.
eyes.
Right.
Well, no, just all that.
It's a beautiful
that's
thing.
I mean,
impressive.
they met
That's
when
awesome.
they knew me 22 years ago. So I was the height of angry. No self.
But you did not seem that way.
I meant
No.
internally. I mean,
Maybe
this is all
internally, but
internally. Just I didn't
you
love
were-
myself. I didn't love.
Yeah.
I was. It was.
But the right people came in your life to set you on that journey.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it has been wonderful
And you
meeting
also.
both of you.
Yeah.
We really
Meeting you.
appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today. And honestly,
meeting
I'm really
you.
glad I got to see you without knowing it was you.
She did.
And I was like,
She's like, remember
Yeah,
how we talked about
definitely.
people that are self-actualized just vibrate
just
differently?
like-
And she's like,
I
Yep.
see you.
I just blew into the coffee shop with a lot of
Well-
caffeine.
Thank you for the opportunity to
Yes,
share a little bit about
absolutely.
Eden Village. That it's dear to our hearts. So thank you.
and that is another episode of Chasing Self-Actualization. Thank you for joining us. Please make sure to like and subscribe and follow us for more information.
And to learn more about our guest or what we're doing next, you can check out our website at chasingselfactualization.com.